Joining us now is the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Tim Kaine. He's also the former governor of Virginia. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Hey, very good to be with you, Rachel. And in Virginia, we still believe in majority rule, and I think most Americans kind of understand that.
Well, we learned today that President Obama is going to announce his way forward on health reform the day after tomorrow on Wednesday. I know that you are very plugged into this process. What can you tell us about the strategy moving forward?
Well, I want to let the president make the announcement, but you're right. All the options are being considered, and we are chuckling, Rachel, just as you are, at the Republicans fighting so hard against the notion of majority rule in the Senate. The reconciliation rule is every bit as much a rule of the Senate as the filibuster rule is. They love the filibuster, but they don't want to allow the American public to have an up or down majority rule vote about whether to reform insurance abuses. And I think you'll hear the president lay out a strategy where we've debated this. We've taken Republican ideas into account in the bill that's passed the Senate. Now is the time to act, and the American public wants to see that Washington can act.
Republicans are starting to shift now to say that after health reform passes, if they're not able to stop it, they will start immediately to campaign to repeal health reform. Any take on that?
I hope they do, Rachel. I want them to campaign in favor of insurance company abuses that kick people off policies when they get sick. I want them to campaign and say they want to now reimpose more prescription drug costs on seniors. I want them to campaign and say it's wrong that parents are now able to keep their kids on their policies until they're 27. They need to kick them all off the policies now. They are fighting very hard against this because they're petrified that it's going to pass. They know it's going to do good things for Americans. They know that their record of obstruction trying to block health reform is going to go very hard for them come November. Your point at the top of the hour about reconciliation and how it's been used over and over again. This majority rule principle is a rule of the Senate that has been used often by Republicans. It's been used repeatedly to reform the health care system. It's been used by Republicans to pass bills with much greater fiscal impact, the Bush tax cuts, than this health care plan. They love to use it, except when they see us wanting to use it. But again, majority rule is what Americans understand. This bill is now passed both houses by a significant majority in the Senate. Time to fix it and make it happen.
The reason that reconciliation is on the table right now, that these fixes between the two bills may pass by that process, is because Republicans have pledged to filibuster not only this, but everything. The Senate is essentially 100% filibustered body at this point. And it's possible to work around that when you can, using reconciliation. Reconciliation is also a very awkward tool for doing all of the business of the United States Senate, even though I believe it would work rather easily for what they're trying to do with health reform. What about the overall problem of how many filibusters there are?
Well, it is the case, Rachel, as you point out, that the filibuster rule is in place for a certain, kind of issue, and the Republicans have just run roughshod with it. They've used it to filibuster repeatedly non-controversial matters, and you know what they're trying to do if they can't succeed on the filibuster, then they turn around and vote yes on the bill. They're trying to block the American public from being able to get up or down votes on critical matters, and when the up or down votes are called, then they suddenly put themselves in the yes column for things like the jobs bill that they passed last week. What are we going to do to keep them from being able to carry this strategy out? I've heard the Senate talk about a couple of strategies. One of the simple ones is, if you want to filibuster, let's really make you filibuster. Let's go back to the Mr. Smith goes to Washington days, where if you want to use that tool, you got to stand on your feet and you got to look in the camera now and argue why it's good to let insurance companies continue to kick people off policies for pre-existing conditions and others. I think we've probably changed the rule and not made people stand on their feet and face the American public and explain what they're doing. And I hope the Senate might consider changing the filibuster rules at a minimum to make people, be straightforward about what they're up to.